how are you out there? Thank you for joining me. I'm trying to be right promptly at 5 o'clock today. I think I was a minute late yesterday with my going live. I hope you've had a good day, although it's been very cold here. We had to go out today for a car appointment. When we got there, they had to sit there for a long time and then told us, oh, our car didn't need an appointment. We were like, ah, but we got a good lunch out of it, so that was nice. So we talked yesterday about homeschool scheduling, and specifically we ended up with some kind of a calendar like this, a block calendar, but we talked a lot about how to prioritize the energy in your day and in your time, so you're doing the things that are important right away, and you know what kind of goals that you have for your students. You have to know where you're going with your students so you can help get them there. And one thing that I have seen with a lot of homeschoolers is sort of a laissez-faire attitude. Oh, we'll get through it. It won't matter if it takes my daughter until she's 21 to finish her homeschooling. And I really think that's doing a disservice to your student. There seems to be an attitude that it doesn't matter, or that self-discipline and motivation doesn't matter. And we've ended up coddling homeschool students sometimes. And I'm going to address that next Friday, February 8th at my 5 o'clock live. But make sure you're not coddling your students. Teach them discipline, structure, self-control. You know why? Because that's the way the world works. And that's the way you get things done. And we also talked about we need to plan first and then execute, and what time of day you're going to be most productive, and just having predictable routines that will enable your students to maximize their learning focus, so that they can transition successfully from one subject to the other and maximizing on that learning time. So that's available on YouTube, and it's called Homeschool Scheduling Made Easy. Now today we're talking about homeschool scheduling and life interruptions. So first of all, you need to know how important is your homeschooling to you. Is that your priority? Have you and your husband decided that that's a priority for your family, and you are going to put a lot of energy and time into homeschooling your children? And the reason I say it like that is because there seems to be sort of an attitude sometimes about, well, we'll try this and we'll see if it works out. Homeschooling is hard. Usually if you're homeschooling, you're not taking away any of your other responsibilities. You're just adding a lot more on it. I mean, there's a reason teachers get paid money to teach your kids all day. It's hard work. Hold on just a second. Excuse me. So we need to have our day plan so we know how to handle interruptions, appointments, errands, and emergencies. So interruptions are those things that come up that just disrupt the day. And that might be when somebody says, oh, I wonder what the weather's going to be tomorrow. And 3 kids dive over to the computer to try to get there first, to click on, what's the weather for tomorrow? Hi, thanks for joining me. And so then that's an interruption. You don't want those kind of interruptions. Phone calls can be an interruption, and you might want to have a policy at your house that you do not accept phone calls until after lunch. And you might say, well, what if something's going on before then? Well, that's why I say you have to know how to prioritize. What is that homeschooling priority for you? If your kids and your homeschooling is a priority, it's worth blocking out that time and those interruptions so you can get your homeschooling done. And otherwise, I promise you, there will be interruptions every day that will stop you from being successful in your homeschooling. So You might want to turn off the phone. You might want to turn off computers or put passwords on computers so they cannot be accessed as an interruption. And you need to make it show your children that homeschooling is important and it's a priority for them and they need to get it done. So then there are appointments that you might have, like dental appointments. If you have a large family especially, I urge you to try to find a dentist that has multiple hygienists working at the same day, because you don't want to sit there for 6 consecutive 45-minute appointments while your kids get their teeth cleaned. You will be frazzled, I promise you. So you need to work around that as much as possible. Now, if your kids are sick and you can get them into the doctor right in the middle of the time that's usually their optimal time for math, there's no way around that. That's when the appointment is available. So I heard of one mom who has a backpack system. All the schoolwork goes in the children's backpacks. They grab it up, take it with them. They do their work in the waiting room while they're waiting for brother or sister to get their appointment, or if they all have appointments, it keeps them occupied in the doctor's office. And then probably it means a trip to the pharmacy afterward to pick up some medicine and then back home. So you want to lose as little time as possible even for appointments. Now there's errands that we also have to do. So you want to streamline your errands. Now, we live in a rural area, so if I'm going to town, it may mean a 45-minute trip to get there. So I'm going to maximize my time when I'm there, and I might have 12 errands. I might be going to Lowe's and the bank and 2 grocery stores and stopping to see someone, and, well, you get the idea. It just goes on to get everything done. So you want to really have that streamlined and mapped out so you're not going backwards. You're just from one to the other, to the other, to the other. And I usually say it takes about a half hour even for a quick errand, just because it does. Parking, getting the kids in and out of the car, getting where you want, finding it, checking out, back to the car, and on your way. So if you're going to plan your errands, plan for a half hour each one, and that's not like grocery shopping. If you can do grocery shopping in a half hour, God bless you. I know they have these to-go places now. You can put in your order and you drive up there. I don't know if you beep your horn or punch in a button or something, and they come out and deliver your groceries in your car. Awesome. That is an awesome thing. Whoever developed that was great. Just think of not having to drag your kids in and out on a rainy day, in and out. But I wouldn't do that all the time, because your kids do learn things from learning how to grocery shop with you. But it is a nice treat that you can do nowadays. So streamline your errands for sure. What about emergencies? Are there ever emergencies at your house? Well, there were emergencies at my house. My dad used to wonder if I just had a standing doctor's appointment every Monday and just canceled when we were well or nothing had happened, because we were at the doctor's for something so often. Stitches, burns, bronchitis, asthma attacks. And yes, I did call ahead to the emergency room if I knew we were having to go to find out which doctor was on duty, because sometimes I went to one hospital and sometimes I went to the other hospital. We were there that often. So I know how these things happen. So how do you plan around that? I like the idea of the backpack system, where you can put their books and their work there, and they can bring it with you if they can, to do it as much as possible so that you're not getting behind. There's hardly anything worse as a homeschool mom than feeling like that you're behind. Hi, this is Elizabeth Estelle, Homeschool Christian Mom. Thank you for joining us. So what we did is we started our school year a week early. So I had 5 built-in days so that I was ahead, so I could use those up. And then we actually planned quite a few double days. Not on Thursdays because we had our gym program, but during the week, the children got like bonus points if they could get double their work done by Thursday at 5, or maybe Friday at noon. And then we could take Friday afternoon off to do errands, grocery shopping, getting things done. And so we didn't get behind. I just hated that feeling of being behind. And it doesn't do your kids any good to just be behind all the time either. So when these things happen, you should have a plan in place. Okay, so-and-so just split their head open on a rock. We're going to the emergency room. Hi, thanks for joining me. And so everybody should know what to do to get ready if you have to get ready in a hurry. And we actually would practice this. Okay, we're practicing our emergency plan. Let's pretend somebody just got their head split open on the rock. What do? We grab the peas out of the freezer, stick it on their head, and I take the first load out. The oldest child helps get the younger children ready, and we're ready to go out the door. So you can plan these kinds of things. You can have some plans in place to deal with emergencies. Well, what about extended situations that you might have where you end up being a caretaker for a mom or a mother-in-law, or even a neighbor that might need help? And that's another time when you're going to have to look at where are your priorities, because I really believe you have to keep your family first and your kids first. Kids are kids, and they don't see it from an adult perspective. And if you will drop everything, if you will drop taking care of your own children to go help a neighbor, what does that say to your children about their importance? And you have to be very careful that you keep communicating and talking to your children if you're going through something like this, so that they see it's not that they're not important. This is a situation that came up. We'll take care of it. We'll get right back to you. So be very careful how you treat these different situations, and really talk to your kids about them so they know that they are still number one in your heart. So what about if you have a business and you have to take a lot of time to run your business, and you're homeschooling, and your husband's working, and he's working overtime, and you have 2 businesses, and the dog is sick? Okay, so we have to work through all that and say, what is our priority? What can we do here? What can we cut out? And how can we work through this? And it's very difficult when you're dealing right in the middle of it, because your emotions are on edge, and you might say, oh, well, God knows, and he will help you through it. And I remember telling someone one time, well, God better be careful, because I'm closer to the edge than he realizes. Now I think to myself, I can't believe I said that. But my nerves were frazzled. My mother-in-law was very sick, and I didn't like it. We were going over every weekend to help see her and bring the kids to see her, and it was a very difficult time. Now, I have looked at a lot of the blog posts about how to deal with if a parent dies, or if you have an extended emergency situation, and a lot of them recommend taking an extended break of unschooling or just minimal schooling. And I'm going to have to disagree with that very strongly. When my dad passed away, it was a very important part of getting through the grieving process that I did have to keep going with my homeschooling. Every day I had to get up, get the kids ready, and do their homeschooling. Every day we had to keep going. Every day, keep going, keep going. And so I don't think that wallowing in your grief is a good way to deal with grief. I think keeping going is a good way to deal with grief. And I'm not saying you don't ever cry and you're not ever sad. I'm just saying that you have to be very careful what you're teaching by saying you need to take a month or 2 off. The real world does not work like that. If your son is a CEO in a business and something bad happens, he can't say to his coworkers, well, I'll take a month or 2 off to think about this and then I'll be back. It just does not work like that. And you should be preparing your children for real life and how real life goes. And if you have to fit more in your day, you know what you do? you get up really early and you fit more in your day. That's how it goes. And if you're in college and you've got a big test, you stay up late studying and you get up early studying. And so we have to be careful to look at the implications of what we're teaching our children by how we're doing these things. So I'm going to look next week at why you're homeschooling and having a homeschool mission statement. So that's next Friday, the 8th. Tomorrow, I'm going to finish up the homeschool scheduling, and we're going to talk about how to take care of your little children while you're homeschooling your bigger children. And thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a great evening. Thanks. Bye-bye.